Hold on. He dug 16 tunnels to get out of 16 different jails, but the Germans still have him. You think you know everything about The Great Escape, the famous movie about the biggest jailbreak during World War II. But what you see on the screen is only half the truth. In real life, no Americans were involved in the escape or the famous motorbike jump that people all over the world remember. Steve McQueen didn't do it, and the barbed wire fence that looked dangerous was actually made of rubber bands, which will surprise you even more. That is just the start of a lot of behind-the-scenes secrets and stories that aren't on any DVD version of The Great Escape. They will definitely change the way you look at it the next time you watch it. Let me look into what's true. What story does everyone in this movie seem to know by heart? 20. No Americans got away. Did you think that the escape was mostly about American soldiers? One of the biggest problems with The Great Escape was that it had a lot of American characters, even though those characters didn't actually take part in the breakout. In history, the breakout was mostly done by POWs from Britain, Canada, Australia, and Poland, since the Americans were moved to a different camp before the plan could be carried out. But to make the movie more appealing to American viewers, figures like Hiltz, played by Steve McQueen, and Henley, James Garner, were added and given a lot of screen time. Some British soldiers were angry about this, and one said, they made it look like the Americans were in charge of the escape when they weren't even there. Even though his choice was criticized, director John Sturges stood by it. This is a movie, not a documentary about history. We wanted to tell the story in a way that people all over the world could relate to. Over the years, this argument has gone on, but it can't be denied that The Great Escape stayed true to the original story's theme of unity, bravery, and success over hardship. 19. The scene with the motorcycle jump almost got banned. It was a jump that changed lives. The middle of the 1960s saw Steve McQueen become a big star in Hollywood. But that didn't mean things were always easy for him. As they got ready to film the famous motorbike jump scene from The Great Escape, McQueen ran into a problem he didn't expect. The plan was turned down by the insurance company. They said it was too risky. He wouldn't give up, though. He did most of the driving scenes himself, showing off his amazing motorcycle skills that people still respect today. All eyes were on him, though, when he made the dangerous jump over a barbed wire fence from a height of 1.5 meters. Even though McQueen was brave, he knew this wasn't just about skills, it was about life and death. Bud, what do you think he told his close friend and Los Angeles motorbike repair shop owner Bud Ekins? I can ride the bike. The answer from Ekins was a confident smile. After that, the jump took place. Everyone was shocked when Ekins sped forward so fast that the wheels lifted off the ground for a split second. The director yelled, "Perfect," while McQueen laughed out loud and slapped his friend on the back. Bud, you saved the whole movie. We all remember this scene from The Great Escape. It was also the start of Ekins' famous acting career. After that, Ekins worked with McQueen on the movie Bullitt, 1968, and the TV show Chips, 1977. For McQueen, this jump showed how brave he was, and for Ekins, it was the moment when he went from being a mechanic to a Hollywood hero. Would it surprise you to learn that Ekins played this part as a fake double? Write something below this movie. 18. Donald Pleasence went from being a real-life prisoner of war to an unofficial advisor. Donald Pleasence did more than just play Colin Blythe in The Great Escape, he also brought his own scary experiences to the movie. During World War II, Pleasence was a pilot in the Royal Air Force and was caught after his plane was shot down. He was held at Stalag Luftwaffe and tortured by Nazi soldiers, which left him with terrible memories. Pleasence gave the team good advice when they acted out scenes from the prison camp. It should be dark and narrow in the caves, and the air inside the camp should feel stifling. At first, director John Sturges didn't know anything about Pleasence's past and kindly turned down his ideas. When another character said that Pleasence had been a real POW, things changed. Sturges went right up to him and asked, "Why didn't you say that earlier?" Pleasence did nothing but smile. "You didn't listen, but I did." After that, he was like an unofficial technical advisor, helping the team make sure that the details were correct to stay true to history. Do you think that his quiet efforts made the movie more powerful emotionally? 17. There are minds that follow Charles Bronson around, both on and off film. In The Great Escape, Charles Bronson didn't have to do a lot of acting. His part as the Tunnel King, a skilled digger, was a lot like things that happened to him in real life. Before he became famous in Hollywood, Bronson worked in dark, stuffy coal mines. Not only did these things help him become the character, but they also made him an unofficial tech expert for the team. If you use big scoops, the dirt will fall apart. Bronson showed the team the right way to handle the dirt and said, "You need to pull it out slowly by hand." No one thought Bronson would also have claustrophobia, which was a lasting result of his time working in the mines. Bronson suddenly stopped moving while digging in a very dark and deep scene. Sweat was running down his face. "Are you okay?" one of the helpers asked. Bronson nodded, and his voice shook a little. "I just don't want to go back to that darkness." Bronson didn't try to avoid it, instead, he used his fear to make himself stronger. The cast and crew were amazed at how well he played the Tunnel King. Bronson saw this part as more than just a job. It gave him a chance to face and get over his past. A star who didn't just dig beneath the surface, they also dug deep into people's hearts. 16. The almost happy ending. Why the director wouldn't give in. At first, the makers of The Great Escape wanted to change the ending to make it happier. It was their plan for more POWs to escape or for the sad deaths of the 50 POWs to be played down. One producer said, "We need an ending that makes the audience happy." But director John Sturges was strongly against this plan. "This movie is more than just a feel-good story." He said that it was the story of real people who gave their lives for freedom. "When we change the ending, we lie to them." But in the end, Sturges won. The film became a classic because of its honest and sad ending, which was praised for both its art and its respect for history. Sturges also said that the truth isn't always nice. But that's what makes this story interesting. The Great Escape became more than just a war movie because Sturges worked hard on it. It became a strong reminder of what it means to give and keep going. 15. 50. People who were put to death by the Gestapo. How much moral weight recreation has. The Great Escape was a fun movie, but the true story behind it was a terrible tragedy. 76 POWs crawled through Tunnel Harry to get out of Stalag Luft 3 during the real escape. But only 3 were able to get to safety, while 50 were caught and killed by the Gestapo. The production team led by John Sturges and I were under a lot of pressure to recreate this event. "We're not just making a movie," Sturges told the group, "we're telling the story of people who died for freedom." A lot of the scenes, especially the ones near the end, were shot in a dark environment. After the show, James Garner, who played Henley, said, "Oh, they were people with families and dreams." The deaths of the 50 POWs were not only a terrible event in history, but they were also a big reason why Sturges insisted that the ending of the movie be true, no matter how sad it was. Because they wanted to be true to life, the movie became a strong tribute to those who gave up everything for freedom. 14. The Cursed Film. Accidents that took place on and offset The Great Escape didn't just show how dangerous a real jailbreak can be. There were many scary things that happened during the filming process. A very bad accident happened while the team was building a tunnel for the digging scenes. During construction, a worker was badly hurt while trying to fix a weak spot in the tunnel roof. "Be careful." Someone yelled, "Don't stand too close," as the roof started to shake. It was too late to tell them, though. A piece of the roof fell off, raining dirt and other things on the group. One of the technicians hurt their legs badly and had to be rushed to the hospital. When the camera group was working in a narrow part of the tunnel, there was another almost fatal accident. The tunnel's ceiling started to shake all of a sudden. "Leave right away." Someone yelled as quick showers of dirt began to fall. The team was lucky that they were able to get out just in time before the roof caved in completely, saving their lives. The team was scared after these events. One member of the team said, "There were times when we wondered if this movie was cursed." Even though it was dangerous, they kept going because they wanted to honor the strength of the real POWs. 13. A scandalous affair between Charles Bronson and Jill Ireland rocked Hollywood. In The Great Escape, Charles Bronson not only dug tunnels, but he also dug right into the heart of Jill Ireland, who was married to co-star David McCallum and played Ashley Pitt. As soon as Bronson met Ireland on the set, he fell in love with her soft beauty and charm. At a risky time, Bronson spoke out against McCallum in a shocking way. "I'm going to marry your wife." McCallum laughed because he thought it was a funny joke. Bronson wasn't playing around. "I'm not joking," he said in a steady, calm voice. While they were shooting, Bronson and Ireland became better friends. At first, no one took their relationship seriously, but by 1967, Ireland had divorced McCallum and married Bronson, which shocked everyone in Hollywood. Bronson just smiled when asked about his direct style. The moment I saw her, I knew she was meant for me. That's it. He was right, too. Their marriage lasted more than 30 years, making it one of the most famous long-lasting love stories in Hollywood. Bronson made a joke out of it and turned it into a real wedding. Do you think those feelings gave the people in the movie more depth? 12. When truth was weirder than fiction, this was the real-life escape. In real life, the story was even braver and more exciting than the escape scenes in The Great Escape. Over 600 POWs worked behind closed doors for a year at Stalag Luft 3 to plan the famous escape. 3 tubes, named Tom, Dick, and Harry, were dug in very difficult conditions, with each job being carefully assigned. Roger Bushell, who came up with the plan, said in a secret meeting, "We're not just escaping. We're going to make things hard for the Nazis. They'll waste months and a lot of guards' time on us." His words gave everyone in the camp hope. They made fake IDs, disguises, and even a way for air to flow through the tubes. One prisoner of war laughed, "If we can't get away, we can at least start a business making clothes and fake documents." 76 prisoners of war crawled through the tight path to freedom when Tunnel Harry was finally finished. But the happiness didn't last long. 50 were caught again by the Gestapo and put to death, leaving a painful mark on the events of World War II. 11. Actors who used to be POWs when movies and real life mixed. One thing that made The Great Escape so real was that the actors had actually been POWs. Donald Pleasance, who played Colin Blythe, the fake, was a pilot in the Royal Air Force during World War II. When his plane was shot down, the Nazis caught him and put him in Stalag Luftwaffe, where they tortured him. At first, Pleasance tried to give director John Sturges advice on how to better show the jail camp. "This scene isn't right." He said that the tunnel should be smaller, but Sturges didn't pay attention because he didn't know Pleasance's history. That is, until another player told Sturges that Pleasance had been a prisoner of war, he was shocked. He asked, "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Pleasure answered, "I did, but you didn't pay attention." Besides Pleasance, other actors, such as Hannes Messimer von Luger, had been held captive in Russian camps. On the other hand, Tilkaiwi and Hans Reiser were taken by American troops. These real-life events gave the movie more meaning and realism by linking the story on screen to tragedies that happen in the real world. 10. Making barbed wire out of rubber with help from the whole team. Building the huge barbed wire fences around the prison camp was one of the hardest parts of recreating the set from The Great Escape. Real steel wire would have been dangerous and expensive, so the crew came up with a clever way to make the fences. They used rubber. The movie's director, John Sturges, made the brave choice that everyone, from Steve McQueen and James Garner to the crew behind the scenes, had to help braid the rubber. A worker who was giving McQueen a roll of rubber joked, "Steve, you don't get to sit this one out either." He laughed and said, "Okay, give it to me. I'll finish faster than everyone else on the crew put together." Each person had to tie together longer pieces of 12-centimeter rubber strips. They worked hard for days and finally made enough barbed wire to go around the whole set. This wasn't just a way to save money, it was also a great way for the whole production team to bond. 9. When the movie matched reality, the bed slat incident happened. One of the funniest parts of The Great Escape is when Cavendish falls through the bunk bed because too many slats were taken out to make the surprising joke. A real event at Stalag Luft 3 gave it its ideas. According to real events, Roger Bushell, who planned the escape, took bed slats off of his bunk to help build the cave. His mattress was about to fall through, so he used ropes to make a homemade support system. But when they tried to try it for the first time, the ropes broke, and Bushell fell and hit his roommate. "Stupid," he said, "I didn't think it was that weak," which made everyone in the room laugh out loud. This scene was added to the movie to break up the seriousness with something funny, and it also showed how creative and cooperative the criminals were. This small mistake became a symbol of the drive and creativity that made the real-life escape possible, and it was also one of the most memorable parts of the movie. 8. The secret of Red Cross packages, they hide guns. A lot of people think that Red Cross packages helped war prisoners get away, but the truth is much more clever. Many of these daring escapes were made possible by the help of MI9, a British intelligence team that specializes in sneaking escape tools into prisons. MI9 cleverly sent prisoners fake money, silk maps, and secret papers through things that looked like they were safe, like Monopoly boards, decks of cards, and musical instruments like harmonicas. When one prison guard got a board game, they yelled, "We've got maps and money in here too." Thank God for this. It is interesting that MI9 purposely avoided using Red Cross packages so as not to break the Geneva Convention. An MI9 intelligence officer once said that all inmates would be subject to stricter rules if they found out that the Red Cross was involved. We can't put their lives at risk. Many prisoners were able to escape with these plans that look like they came from a James Bond movie. However, MI9 was a key part of many famous rescues that did not depend on humanitarian aid packages. Their work became a sign of imagination, determination, and the desire to be free. During a war. 7. Anger is caused by Steve McQueen's ego. When he started The Great Escape, Steve McQueen was already a big Hollywood star who knew how valuable he was. However, his big ego got in the way of many good times with the film team, as Hiltz, the cooler king. It was important to McQueen that his character stand out as a bold person who got more screen time, not just as a member of the ensemble company. At first, director John Sturges wanted to stick to the original story, which was about how the prisoners worked together. McQueen wasn't happy with this method. He told Sturges straight out at one point that John Hiltz couldn't just be one of them. Give him something that will stick out in his mind. Sturges pushed back and told Steve, "This is not a story about a single hero. It's about the team." McQueen refused to give up, so he fought back. "John, then let Hiltz speak for all of them. He should be the spirit of the whole story." Sturges finally gave in and changed the plot by adding more scenes that showed off Hiltz's personality and made him a more important character. Even though it was tense, McQueen showed that a big ego can sometimes make heroes. His smart, defiant, and brave performance as Hiltz made him a famous figure of the Great Escape that will never be replaced in movie history. 6. Visit the ruins of Stalag Luft III to see history come to life. Today you can see the famous escape site at the ruins of Stalag Luft III in Zagan, Poland. A lot of the camp was burned after the war, but the site has been kept as a historical landmark and now has underground tunnels, pieces of walls, and a small museum with artifacts. The most interesting thing about the spot is a copy of Tunnel Harry, which was one of the 3 escape routes that the prisoners dug. People can walk through the recreated tunnel and feel what it was like for the prisoners to be squished, dark, and smothering. One guest said, "I only walked a few meters and I'm out of breath. I have no idea how they crawled more than 100 meters." The prisoners of war also made amazing tools like makeshift shovels, fake papers, and disguises, which can be seen in the museum. This place isn't just a memorial, it's also a powerful reminder of how brave and strong the people who were locked up there were. 5. Many countries banned the movie because it was too realistic. The Great Escape was praised as a classic, but it was heavily censored in some places because it showed Nazi crimes and events during World War II. In Germany, the movie was badly cut because it showed a lot of war crimes, especially the scene where the Gestapo killed 50 prisoners of war. One German reviewer said, "This movie is too real, which is why we're not ready to face it." In the same way, scenes of Nazi cruelty were cut or toned down in other countries to make them less shocking. On the other hand, Allied nations was praised for facing the hard facts of history head-on, no matter how painful they were. Thoughts about the movie changed over time. Today, The Great Escape is seen as a worldwide classic, both for its artistic value and for being brave enough to show how terrible war is. For Steve McQueen wasn't just the king of speed on screen, he was also a wild thrill seeker in real life. And that's how he got pulled over for speeding by German police. He liked to race motorbikes and cars around a small German town where The Great Escape was being filmed, which caused a lot of trouble. The cops set up a speed trap near the set one day, and this is what happened. Several team members, including McQueen, were caught. McQueen had the fastest speed of all of them. The police chief laughed as he gave him the ticket and said, "Mr. McQueen, we caught a few of your friends today, but you win the prize for the fastest speed." For his part, McQueen smiled and said, "Thanks. I always try to get first place." He was funny, but that didn't keep him from having to go to the police station for a short time. When McQueen came back to the set that night, everyone laughed out loud, but for him, it was just another fun day. In real life and on screen, Steve McQueen was always pushing the edges of what was possible. This event made him even more famous as a speed and excitement figure. 3. Inspired by the movie The Great Escape, Paul Brickhill wrote a book with the same name. Brickhill was a prisoner of war in World War II and was held at Stalag Luft III. He wasn't just a witness to the escape, he was also a part of the plan. Brickhill helped dig the tunnels at first while he was in the camp, but he had to stop because he was so scared of being squished. He wrote in his autobiography, "I couldn't stand the darkness and small spaces of the tunnels. He continued to help the escape, though, by helping to guard the camp and free other prisoners of war. When Brickhill learned after the war that 50 of his friends had died, he was determined to make their story last forever. When it came out in 1950, his book was a big hit, and it was later turned into the famous movie. It wasn't just writing that Brickhill did, he also kept the stories of those who fought for freedom alive. Because of his story, The Great Escape became both a fun movie and an important record of bravery and suffering in history. 2. The true story of the bold escape from Stalag Luft III. The escape from Stalag Luft III was one of the bravest events of World War II. More than 600 prisoners of war worked together to carry out a plan that was both very difficult and very ambitious. Starting in 1943, they dug 3 tunnels in secret called Tom, Dick, and Harry. Their goal was to free hundreds of prisoners. Each prisoner of war in the camp had a job to do. They made fake papers, sewed masks, dug holes in the ground, and even built ways for air to flow through the tubes. Roger Bushell, who planned the whole thing, said, "We're not just running away. The Nazis are going to pay a high price." Finally, on March 24, 1944, at night, 76 prisoners crawled through Tunnel Harry and were free. But only 3 were able to avoid being caught, and the Gestapo killed 50 of them after they were caught. The event shocked the whole world and became a sign of strength and resistance. The main idea behind The Great Escape came from this amazing act of bravery and teamwork. 1. James Garner's injury from the war comes up again. James Garner, who played Henley, had injuries in the Korean War that gave him back pain for the rest of his life. Garner had constant back pain while shooting The Great Escape, but he stayed professional and made sure that his scenes were finished on time without any problems. As he filmed the escape scene with Donald Pleasance in a plane, Garner joked, "If my back wasn't killing me, I'd fly this plane home myself." Garner once said, "When I think about what I went through, the real POWs went through far worse than anything I could imagine. I have no reason to be upset." Even though he was in pain, Garner played Henley in a way that was smart, caring, and very real. A performance that made a big difference in the success and memory of The Great Escape. The Great Escape is not only a great movie, but it also gets across the sacrifices, heroic efforts, and heartbreaking tragedies that the prisoners had to go through. Because of this, The Great Escape is not only a fun movie, but also a moving ode to those who fought and died for freedom. Additionally, if you have seen The Great Escape, what was your favorite part of the movie? Say what you think. Help get the word out about this moving story. Thanks for seeing it. If you like The Great Escape or this moving historical story, please like, share, and follow to help the channel.